Her hand remained suspended in the air, steady, dignified, unshaken, while 100 polished shoes shifted awkwardly on the marble floor. The silence inside the glass-walled boardroom was so sharp it felt like something had shattered, even though nothing had physically broken. He had glanced at her hand, then at her face, and then past her, as if she were an inconvenience that had wandered into the wrong room. The faintest tightening of his jaw. A polite, dismissive nod. And then he turned away. If you believe every story hides a lesson, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Humanity Stories. You never know which moment might change the way you see the world. She did not withdraw her hand immediately. That was what unsettled him later when he replayed the scene in his mind. She held it there for a breath too long, not begging, not angry, simply present. Her posture was impeccable, shoulders squared beneath a tailored navy suit that caught the morning light. Her dark curls were pulled back neatly, revealing calm eyes that did not flicker with embarrassment the way he expected. When she finally lowered her hand, it was with the same composure someone might use to close a book they had already finished reading. He told himself it was nothing. He was used to commanding rooms. At 48, he had built his reputation on sharp instincts and sharper boundaries. He believed in hierarchy, in tradition, in protecting what he called company culture. The shareholders admired his decisiveness. The media admired his confidence. And he admired himself most of all when he walked past the framed magazine covers lining his office hallway, his smile printed in glossy ink beneath words like visionary and titan. That afternoon, the meeting proceeded without incident. Charts glowed on massive screens. Assistants scribbled notes. Coffee cooled in untouched porcelain cups. Yet something invisible lingered in the air, a weight he could not name. He convinced himself she was just another consultant, perhaps a diversity hire invited to observe. He hadn't bothered to read the full briefing. He didn't think he needed to. The next morning began like any other. The city skyline outside his penthouse shimmered under a pale sunrise. He adjusted his cufflinks in the mirror, rehearsing the day's negotiations in his head. He felt powerful, certain, untouchable, until his phone rang. It was his legal advisor, calling earlier than usual. The man's voice carried an unfamiliar stiffness, as though each word had to push through something heavy. There had been an oversight. A recent acquisition finalized quietly over the past quarter. Majority shares transferred through layered investment groups. The paperwork had cleared overnight. 55% ownership. Transferred to a single name. Her name. He sat down slowly on the edge of his bed, the city suddenly distant and unreal. He asked for clarification twice, as if repetition might rearrange the facts. It did not. Control, the thing he valued above all, had shifted while he was busy guarding handshakes. By the time he arrived at headquarters, the building felt different. The security guards nodded with subtle curiosity. Assistants avoided prolonged eye contact. News traveled fast in glass towers. She was already in the boardroom when he entered. Sunlight streamed behind her, outlining her silhouette against the skyline he once believed he owned. She stood at the head of the table now. Not triumphantly. Not mockingly. Simply where she belonged. He noticed details he had ignored before, the faint scar near her wrist, the deliberate stillness in the way she breathed, the quiet confidence that did not need validation. She wasn't smiling. She wasn't angry. She was prepared. For the first time in years, he felt heat rise to his face, not from anger, but from recognition. Recognition of a moment he could not undo. A single gesture that revealed more about him than any annual report ever could. He realized she had not extended her hand for courtesy alone. It had been an offering of professional respect. An equal beginning. And he had refused it, not knowing she had already invested millions into saving the very company he was steering toward risk. She had believed in its potential when others quietly withdrew. She had seen value where he saw threat. The board members shifted uncomfortably as documents were placed before them. The transfer was legitimate, irreversible. Legal language left no room for ego. He found himself remembering the exact texture of that moment, her hand in the air, unwavering. He wondered what she had felt. Disappointment, amusement, or had she already known that power reveals character more clearly than wealth ever could? The meeting unfolded with professional efficiency. Strategies were discussed, departments reassigned. He retained his title, for now, but authority had a new gravity. Every decision would now pass through someone he had dismissed without a second thought. And yet, what unsettled him most was not the shift in ownership. It was the mirror suddenly held up to him. The realization that his confidence had always depended on believing he stood above others. When the meeting ended, there was a pause. A quiet space where something unspoken hovered between them. This time, he extended his hand. Not for optics. Not for damage control. But because he understood, finally, what had been offered to him the day before. Not submission, not competition, but partnership. Her eyes met his, searching not for apology, but for sincerity. After a brief moment that felt longer than the previous day's silence, she took his hand.